We've talked a little bit about knowledge, but some of the feedback we got was let's refine some of the knowledge searching. So if you did have an opportunity to see Smart IT 1.0 in September when it came out, we've added some more capabilities into the Smart IT interface to do more with knowledge. And also the ability, just like I can go in and create knowledge on the fly, I now, through the interface, can very easily create knowledge from the ticket itself. And so really we looked at it and said, hey, look, if you're using knowledge now, which is a critical part of Smart IT in the interface, then if you're not finding what you're looking for, let's give you the ability to flag this, to tag something and say, okay, I didn't find the right knowledge article, and then maybe at some point come back later and create a knowledge article based on this, or, you know, be able to even have a team that could come out and say, hey, wait a minute, here's a series of tickets that really didn't have a good knowledge article on it, so maybe I have a team that's working on all of these to be able to create knowledge so that in future cases that knowledge is there. So we've really looked at this knowledge from a 360 point of view. And then other things like, you know, just having more choices for service desk agents to be able to see more things, to understand the VIP status, things like that were feedbacks into the Smart IT interface. So let's just kind of wrap up on Smart IT, because that's one key component of the Remedy 9 release. So Smart IT 1.1, it is still backward compatible to 7604 Service Pack 2. You do not have to use the product. There's no additional licensing. It uses the same licensing that we use today, so there's not an add-on license for it. It gives you mobility if you want. You can stand it up. You can trial it in your environment. I've had customers that go live with Smart IT, and maybe the only people that use it to start with are field technicians, because it gives them mobile access, and then over time they plan to phase that in for their whole entire service desk. It is supported in IE or higher with all the other browsers that are out there, Firefox, Safari, Google Chrome. We do support native apps on Android and iOS. The question always comes up, well, what about BlackBerries? And I would expect that to come up in this audience as well, since there still is a fairly strong federal reliance on BlackBerries. Right now, iOS and Android together make up 96% of the smartphone market. And so we continue to look at trends, especially around Windows and especially around BlackBerry, to see if that 4% changes any way radically, but we see the BlackBerry percentage continue to retreat. We don't see anything coming back, and we know that BlackBerry is talked about and has the ability to run Android apps in the BlackBerry environment, so that's something we continue to look at. And Microsoft actually announced, I think with their latest release, that they were going to begin to allow for Android applications to be run in their mobile environment. And so we think that's probably where things are going. So at some point, I think it's either going to be, you'll either have an Android app or you'll have a iOS app. Now, those are native apps we continue to look at, and we are working toward our HTML5, which is what we use for the Universal Client, the web app. And for that, we actually are working on resizing it so that if you do use it on a mobile device, we'll pick up the screen resolution and resize the interface in HTML5. You lose some things by not having a native app, but that may be also another solution that some people might find acceptable for BlackBerries. All right, so the last thing I've got here to wrap up with is the platform. And the platform is something, especially if you've been a long-time Remedy customer, you know the power of our platform, and you know what it's been able to do for years and years. It is one of the best workflow engines out there in the marketplace. But we also realized that we needed to bring it into the 21st century. And so there were really kind of 9 themes with Remedy 9 that we focused on, and some of these I've already covered, like the in-app reporting experience with Smart IT, some things around things that we've done with simplifying the upgrades, and I'm going to go into each one of these in a little bit more detail. The ability to look at archiving, the idea around what we could do with Process Designer, the ability to enhance Atrium CMDB. And so there's a lot that's been done under the covers. There are things that you typically might not see in a demo or be aware of, but they're really important to customers that have these needs and stuff. And so the first thing we did was we have modernized the AR system stack. It is 100% Java. It's built on the latest OSGI frameworks that are out there in the marketplace. If you're a developer or a user or anybody, it looks the same, it feels the same, the Dev Studio works the same, your log files all work the same. You still develop active links and filters. But what we've done is I make it analogous to actually going into a house that's 100 years old that might have old wiring, and now we've put in new state-of-the-art wireless capabilities. So, all the light switches are now smart switches, and all the thermostats are Nest and stuff like that. So we've taken something that was precious and upgraded it to the latest and greatest. What that allows us to do is really kind of do more innovation. So we'll be able to pick up the speed around what we do with Smart IT. We've got some really cool things coming out. If you go to our Engage event in September, you're going to see some neat things that we're coming out with toward the end of the year. You can begin to use Java tools to monitor the AR system, which has always been a challenge. And then it's also allowed us to reduce the code. When we went to the Java platform, we were able to reduce about 50% of our code line. We took out over 135 no longer necessary third-party libraries that were C libraries that just didn't need to be in the product anymore. We upgraded the libraries that we kept. Excuse me, I had to take a sip there. The libraries that we kept are all on the most current releases out there. We had also, this is nothing that's new to us. We actually came out with the Java stack for the AR system back in 2013 and started using it for our Remedy On Demand customers. And so it's been in production for over a year, and we felt good about bringing it to the market. We've seen performance increases. We've been able to reduce the number of defects in the code line, almost wiping out almost all of the defects that had been listed in our system that were in the code line. So it's been a very significant undertaking for us to move to this 100% Java stack that we now have that's part of the AR9 platform. Upgrading is helped by moving to this Java stack. So now that we have a full-on Java API, we're doing things with the JDBC and other components. We're able to do some things now in the upgrade process that we just frankly couldn't do with the old AR system code. And so the first thing is we've created very easy-to-use guided upgrade systems that are there on the website for you to be able to take a look at. We also have the ability to do these as a virtual upgrade. So we'll run the upgrade before we touch anything and tell you what's going to fail. If you do actually run the upgrade and something happens, you can opt into a call home feature, and immediately BMC will receive all of the log files, a complete snapshot of where you were in the upgrade process, what actually failed, and we'll create a ticket, and we'll be waiting there for you when you're ready to talk to us about your upgrade problem. And then finally, what we've done is, for those that have been longtime customers, you're probably aware of what we do with overlays, which is something that we use to protect your code and stuff like that. What we've done now is we've actually created a three-way reconciliation. And so the one piece that was always missing in the overlay puzzle was we always had, this is what it was, and this is what you changed it to, But the piece that we didn't have, or actually we had, this is what you changed it to, and this is what it's going to be, but we never had the piece of what it was. And so now we have those three pieces in one screen so that you can very quickly look at that, you can make a decision, and reconcile your overlays much easier. Okay, just a couple more slides. We've updated the search capability, so we've seen a 11-time performance increase in full text search and knowledge and any of the searches that are in there. Pretty important capability into the tool. We've added REST API, so if you're a developer or an integrator, you know that the trend has been moving away from web service and into RESTful APIs over the last couple of years, and which makes sense because a RESTful API actually understands the relationship, and so you don't have to build out a complex relationship within your integration. And so now we have that built into the tool for both the CMDB and the core AR system, so you can actually use JSON to be able to create those structures and take some of the complexity out of it. We have archiving now that actually, if you've been a long-time customer, you know that archiving has also been a problem, much like reporting, where you wanted to actually archive a relationship, not just a record on a form. So if I was to archive an incident, I want to be able to archive everything associated with that incident, all of the relationships, the associations, everything that could be set up with that. And so we've actually done this in such a way now that we do always on archiving. You set the rules. We actually will archive out a whole piece of the relationship. And then you can actually set rules to move that off to low-cost storage at some point. And what we are working on in probably a future release, it may come out as early as this summer, it may push toward the later part of the year, is our smart reporting now will be able to understand your archiving situation. So if you want to go run a report on incidents, your users will just have to run a report on incidents, and if they happen to pick a date span that goes past when the records are in the production data structure, so something that's in the archive, we will actually bring those records back to the end user, and they'll actually be able to see them, be able to interact with them. So it's really important if you're doing trend analysis and stuff like that to be able to look at not only the current live tickets or production tickets, but also the archive tickets. We've built in better capabilities for you to be able to move code. No longer do you have to use the Dev Studio to do it. There's a console now in the product that will package up the code, help you move the code. So if you have a separation of duties, one group does development, one group does production, you'll be able to do that. And then finally, the Smart CMDB. We flattened out the CMDB. We've done some things with the configuration with the CMDB to help you be able to do a little bit more with that, better performance. There's now a Microsoft SCCM integration out of the box in addition to our ADDM